Okay, so I absolutely accept that professional losers like King John Sirasani, the greatest of all time, uh, you know, can do whatever he wants with his money. He has that right. It's none of my business. What I'm concerned about is the fact that people are watching people like John Sirasani and Vegas Matt and various other pro losers on YouTube and might be tempted to imitate them. And it's the worst possible thing that they could do. I mean, John undoubtedly really believes that he's some kind of genius at blackjack, but clearly he hasn't watched anybody else. He claims that at one point he even played alongside Don Johnson, who is, and that's not the actor Don Johnson, it's the businessman from Texas, I think he is. But he's the guy who won about 12 million, I think, from Bogota about 10 years ago. A big session in Atlantic City, which basically, I mean, his profit was based upon the fact that they rebated a big chunk of his losses. So he would go on a losing streak, get a chunk of change back, and then then turn that rebate into a big fat profit. No doubt, one of the best blackjack players around. But King John, who is below average, in my estimation, for what that's worth, sat beside him and didn't notice the difference between his way of doing things and Don Johnson's. Who knows what that's about? But anyway, here we go. I'm just saying that this guy has a right to do what he wants with his money. Everybody does, but beware. If you are tempted, if you're watching him, just remember, he's the same as all the pro losers on YouTube. Winning or losing is less important to them than attracting clicks, which in turn translate into big bucks from Google. So they can afford to lose money because they're going to get their money back one way or another through merchandise, where they can charge, I don't know, 3 or 4 times the true value of a T-shirt or a hoodie or whatever, just because it has their name or logo or whatever on it. And so they're getting money from that, they're getting money from Google, they're getting freebies from casinos, they're getting promotional chips, blah, 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 blah. Good for them, but please don't imitate them if you want to hang on to your money. All right, then. So this is another one of those sessions where King John, the goat, in his own mind, managed to win more than I did, more than pattern betting's algorithm did. But his action was just hugely greater. And of course, higher action means higher risk, and so on. Pattern betting won 4,125 against these same outcomes, although pattern betting has nothing whatever to do with those silly extra bets that King John loves so much. Where he spreads out to 2 hands and sometimes even more than that. But anyway, pattern betting's algorithm produced a win of 4,125 on action of 34,000, so it was plus 12.1%. And going back up to the charts up there, you can see, as usual, the sort of way it looks. I mean, yes, there's a moment of right here where we come down to below the line, below the zero. But then recover as always, and then you look at John's chart, John's activity, and just sheer absolute bloody nutcasery, really. This is from in this session. He first posted a short, tacked it on to the rest of his stuff. And in that short, he won this much. He went all the way from zip to zzz. And then when he started playing at the regular table with the camera running normally with a widescreen, etc., he did great for a little bit longer and then started to really fall apart. And this is what happens to anybody who bets randomly. He used to bet flat all the time with occasional high bets. Now he's gone a little bit bonkers, and he basically goes all over the place. He was betting from 5,000 to 1,000 here. That's not a very wide spread, but it was haphazard. It was random. And that's why, that's a danger for him. Now, what did I say? We were at 34,000 with the pattern betting algorithm. His action was 233,000 over here, 250,000, because this was his extra bets action over here. And as you can see, the extra bets cost him yet again, this time 3,750, on top of that action or out of that action of 14,750. And I don't know why these professional losers keep sort of spinning out the way they do, because if you're an advantage player, if you believe in that stuff, and I don't, but that's fine. I could be completely wrong about that, because I just, I've discussed it with all manner of people, including, I promise you, Ed Thorpe himself, simply because I have never been able to make it work. Back then, I haven't really talked to him I don't even know if he's still alive. I know I am, but I don't know if Ed Thorpe is. Hang on a second. I'm going to ask What's-Her-Face. And thanks to Google, I now discover that the professor is 93. By golly, that's fantastic. But anyway, I don't like his ideas. I never have. Because he does this thing where he says that, okay, if the deck value is 3, bet 3 units. If it's +6, bet 6 units. If it's 9, but et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's pretty easy to follow. And I cannot make that work. I'm not talking about me trying it in a casino, because I never, ever was moved enough towards card counting to give it a go in a casino, even when I spent an evening with one of Ed Thorpe's aficionados, a guy called, I think, George Williams. But anyway, we were at downtown in Binion's and a couple of other places in Vegas years ago, and I spent an amusing time with him. And he had a simple thing that he was doing. He was just betting 25 if the count was below 2, in other words, negative or up to +1, and then he would bet 100. So when he had a positive deck value, and he did pretty well. But I wasn't card counting, and I did pretty well too, and that's largely because the cards were for us. They were going our way, including a moment where we were double paid because our dealer just suddenly backed away from the table and said, "I got to take a shit." The most extraordinary thing I've ever seen. There's never been anything like it. And so the pit boss comes over, and he sees, the guy had already paid us before he backed away. And the pit boss comes over and sees that that we have winning hands because the cards are left on the table, and he paid us again. And we looked at each other and decided, well, what the heck? It wasn't huge. It was like, I don't know, 25 for him and maybe 25 for me. I can't even remember. But it was just one of those weird experiences. This guy just saying, "I've got to take a shit," and I'm thinking, okay, that's very Binions. Things are different now, even downtown, I think. Anywho, yes, John is all over the place, and he's entitled to do whatever the hell he wants with his money. It is none of my business, but I have to say, again, this thing he has, and so many of these professional losers do, for betting extra hands, dumb. That's all I can say. Oh, I do want to look at one other thing. All right, so this is definitely a positive for King John. I have no explanation for it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But it turns out that his surrender rule, which is where what he does is he surrenders, he gets half his money back, and he puts whatever he got back from the previous bet he puts on the next one. Okay? And so far, it's working like bloody gangbusters. And I just don't understand it. I really don't. I'm not a genius. I'm not like the White House destroyer. I'm just a regular person who happens to be pretty good with numbers, but I don't know what this is about. Um, Surrenders have amounted to bets. This is the action for surrenders, and he's 12 ahead in terms of the times that he won versus the times that he lost. Okay, so 155 altogether with positive 12, so that's 7.7% plus. And then money wise, total action on these after surrender bets, 250,000 basically. And he's ahead 33,400, which is plus 13.4%. I don't know what to tell you. The one thing I do know is that after a loss, which a surrender is, of course, even though it's only half a loss, after a loss, the most common outcome is the opposite. And that's the only thing that I think might be something to do with this. And over here, what we're looking at is the number of times there's been a -1, 953, and then followed by a -2 is, sort of a little bit over half. And that's the only thing that I can think is an explanation for this. I've always been expecting this to sort of go shit-shaped any minute, but it just goes on from strength to strength. So good on you, John. I mean, I just I think you're bonkers, but you got something right by the look of it, even if it's only temporary. So just going back to the top and to the charts, which I think are kind of important. That's the flat bet look. So we went from down here, 35, and then he ended up here, 42. So it was a player session. It was a player-friendly session. And then this is how John blew it with his random betting. And then he started to pull out or pull up towards the end there, but he made only 3.3%, and his player edge was 4.9%. So basically, he chipped away at the, chipped a bit out of the player edge. Whereas by contrast, the pattern betting algorithm turned 4.9% into 12.1%. That's what you need to do. You want to make money at this game, you need to do that. But I don't, with a lot of these professional losers that I watch on YouTube, I don't think they want to win. I don't think that's part of their plan. I think what they want to do is create sort of interest, create click-worthy content, and then they collect their money back. When they lose, they collect their money back from Google. That's the only possible explanation that I have, and I think that that's probably a more accurate explanation, maybe, than the way that I'm dealing with John Sirasani's remarkable success to date with his surrenders and his boost the next bet strategy. I think it's called a strategy. Anyway, that's it for now. Later.